I started meditating about 30 years ago. I learned my first meditation techniques from my first martial arts teacher. So the single point in mind meditation technique is a very powerful concentration technique for meditation. And it involves concentrating on particular chakras. And the chakras are energy centers in our energy body. Not only do you develop concentration and the ability to hold your mind still, but once you become adept at this particular meditation technique on the chakras, you can raise the Kundalini energy. And the Kundalini energy is a very powerful energy of transformation. What's up, my friends? It's time to meditate. We're back with day 20 already. Can you believe it? Of the 30 days to raise your frequency. 20 days in. And I hope you're having a great day out there. Appreciate your patience waiting for me to get on here. I try to get on here at 2 p.m. for you every day to do a guided meditation. And we've been listening to another great album by Zazen. That one's called Samurai, and it harkens back to ancient Japan in the time of the samurai. Another beautiful meditation album by Zazen. Hey Julian, how are you? Hello from Italy. Hope you guys are doing well over there. Anyway, I just got out of the shower, and it was a super cold shower this morning. So what I like to do is I begin the shower. So my morning routine is something like this. I feel it's important to insert your meditation practice into your morning routine because you want to wake up and start the day fresh, start the day new with your meditation. So I apologize if my hair is a little frizzy now because I just got out of the shower here. But so what I do is I wake up, I have some breakfast and a good cup of coffee, and then I take a shower. And during my shower, what I like to do is do a hot, cold shower. And so the way that works is I'll start the shower with hot water as usual, wash up as usual, and then I'll turn it all the way to cold and step out, take a couple deep breaths, and then just charge Geronimo right into that cold water. I love it. I love it because it's uncomfortable. I love it because it's a challenge. I love it because I don't want to do it. You see? And when we put ourselves in the position of a challenge, when we put ourselves in the position of challenging ourselves to overcome a fear, we get stronger. That's how we get stronger. Now, you may be or may not be familiar with cold therapy. Cold water therapy, such as cold showers, ice baths, have numerous health benefits. Not only to wake you up, but one of the main benefits that I've found from it is that it helps you overcome fear. You know that water's ice cold. You know, everything about it is telling you no. But you do it anyway. Because as meditators, as people seeking something beyond the norm, one of the best ways to overcome the norm and go beyond your limitations is to overcome fear. Because fear is a limiting factor. Fear factor. And it's important to confront your fears, because your fears will stop you. They will stop you in your tracks from doing something that perhaps might be good for you. So I get under that cold water, and it's shocking. It shocks my body, and I become alive. I scream, woohoo! And maybe sing a song for the first 5 or 10 seconds. And then after about 10, 15 seconds, that initial shock wears off from the cold water. And after that, it becomes exhilarating. It becomes, something that makes me alive and awake. You know, a long time ago, I decided to make friends with pain. Because we all have suffered pain before. We all have been through physical pain, emotional pain, mental pain, various different pain. And so I decided to make friends with pain long ago. And pain is one of those limiting factors, kind of like fear, that will stop you from doing something that might be beneficial. So for me, when I started martial arts when I was 15, and I started to really practice to the point where I would come home incredibly sore. Incredibly sore. I just wanted to lay down in my bed and just go to sleep. And that soreness lasted for days, and then the next day, of course, it's always worse, because then you get up out of bed, you're like, oh my God, I'm so stiff, I'm sore, my joints hurt, my muscles hurt. But it was just an obstacle that I had to overcome. Pain, fear, worry, these are all just obstacles that we have to overcome in order to get something that's worthwhile in this life. And meditation is no different. Now, sitting down to meditate may not necessarily be painful. There may not necessarily be a whole lot of fear. But I can tell you that there are certainly going to be a number of objections that you come across. There are certainly going to be a number of doubts that you come across. There are certainly going to be a number of uncertainties that you come across in your meditation practice. But we do it anyway, because the benefits outweigh any worry, concern, fear, pain. And when I was first training in martial arts, I would come home, very sore. But I went back and I did it the next day or the day after when I recovered a little bit, because I knew that the benefits of training would outweigh any kind of physical pain that I would have to endure. And oftentimes it's these obstacles that prevent most people from progress. It's these simple obstacles of pain, fear, worry, concern, laziness, that prevent people from overcoming their limitations. These are all just limitations. Generally, they're a lot of times self-imposed limitations, things like worry, fear, concern. Sometimes pain is unavoidable. And so I learned to make friends with pain, because I knew that pain was just going to be part of life. Suffering was just going to be part of life in the physical body. And later in life, I began weight training. And so now I look forward to that kind of pain. When we're pushing that weight and we're under that bar, whether we're squatting, whether we're doing bench press, whether we're doing deadlift, barbell row, whatever it is. And then there's that moment of soreness, that burning in the muscle. And that's when most people stop. But you have to learn to love the burn. Oh, you got to learn to love the burn. And so when we sit down to meditate, there's a moment when we say, okay, my butt's starting to hurt a little bit. Maybe I should stop. There may be a moment when you say, this is kind of getting uncomfortable. I'd rather be watching TV right now. Or there may be a moment when you're confronted with fear in your meditation. When there's a point that you haven't been to yet in your inner experience that may prevent you from going any further. It may limit your experience. You may say, okay, gosh, sitting down for 15, 20 minutes and trying to be still is just a pain in the ass, literally. But we have to overcome it. We have to move through it. There's a realization that takes place that there are things more worthwhile in life. That enduring a little bit of pain, enduring a little bit of fear are worth it. So that's why I do the cold showers. Yes, there's numerous health benefits. There's numerous health benefits to the cold water. It reduces inflammation in the body. It boosts your immune system because your body goes into shock for a second. So I encourage you to look up cold water therapy. Cold showers are an easy home therapy that anybody can do. Not only does it make you healthy, but it makes you strong. It makes you overcome your fear. And then that ability to step into that cold water with courage will translate into other areas of your life. That ability to overcome that fear. You know, there's a book, Feel the Fear, but Do It Anyway, or whatever it's called. Some title similar to that. And that there'll be moments in life that you'll be confronted with fear that will be paralyzing. Have any of you ever had that dream? You know the one where something in the dream pops up and it freaks you out for a second and it paralyzes you. You can't move, you can't speak, but every time you push it past that point, every time you stare that fear in the face, every time you confront that fear and say, you know what? I'm not going to be afraid. I'm just going to look you right in the eye and say what I need to say anyway. My voice might shake. I might get choked up in the throat, but I'm going to speak my truth no matter what. This is what builds strength, because I can tell you right now that there will be moments that you'll be confronted with an overwhelming fear that will paralyze you. Now, this may not happen in the beginning, and that's probably a good thing. Because for a lot of people, they're not necessarily yet prepared. But there are ways to prepare for fear. There are ways to prepare for pain. And I absolutely recommend things like cold showers, stepping into that cold water, overcoming that fear, and staying in the cold water until it becomes pleasurable. You know, pain can turn into pleasure. Now, I'm not necessarily a sadomasochist that will recommend just going out and you know, having random painful experiences. I'm talking about healthy, productive pain. Obviously, there's a certain limit. There's a certain limit of pain that we can have before pain becomes injury. So, for example, when I do weightlifting, I know that there's a certain point where, you know, I will go past the threshold of pain. But I know there's a certain point that I only do that while I'm still in control of the movement. Because if I get out of control and I get sloppy and I'm just going crazy and swinging the weights around, well, that's going to be a chance of injury. And I don't want injury, obviously, because I don't want that kind of a pain. I want the kind of pain that's going to make me better. I want the kind of pain that's going to push me past my limitations. I want the kind of pain that's going to make me grow. Not only physically, muscularly, but grow as a person. Grow as someone who is fearless. Grow as someone who can become courageous. So when you step into that battlefield of the mind, we have to become courageous. So, in the meditation we're about to do today, if you're new to the group, welcome. We're in about 3/4 of the way into a 30-day meditation challenge, day 20 of the 30 days to raise your frequency. And what I do is I come on and show you how I meditate. And it's a single-pointed mind meditation based on concentration. I call it concentration to consciousness. This technique is the 5 steps to stillness. A lot of alliterations. I love them. And because words are fun, so where might the fear crop up that we have to push past in our meditation? Well, in this particular technique, we've got 5 steps. In the very final 5th step, there's a moment where we step out of our control, where we surrender, where we let go of any kind of control. And that can be a moment of fear. We may feel as if we're going to lose ourselves. We may feel as if we're going to lose our minds. And maybe you will. Maybe that'll be a good thing. Because let's face it, let's be honest. What we know of as ourselves, what we feel as our own identity, is the obstacle holding us back from true freedom, true happiness, absorption, disillusion into what always already is, what I call consciousness. Consciousness, light. Now in that 5th step, when we completely let go and we just allow the universe to kind of have its way with us, there should be a certain degree of faith, trust. If you're someone who doesn't trust the universe, perhaps you've had a number of bad experiences in life, and I feel for you. But if you're someone who has faith that the universe is benevolent, despite all the myriad horrors that can possibly exist within this world, within this life, within the multidimensional creation. Oftentimes, what we see as something that's negative may be looked at another person as positive. So don't be too quick to judge. Don't be too quick to judge what's good and bad. Have faith in the universe that made you. Have faith in the life that gives you pleasure. Have faith in the unseen. Have faith in the goodness of life. You're a good person, so why shouldn't life also be good? So when it's time to let go, when it's time to surrender, have faith in the universe. Have faith in God, whatever you want to call it. You know, I'm not a religious person, but oftentimes the word God is applied to the universe, the mind of the universe. Oftentimes the word God is synonymous with liberation and enlightenment, nirvana, Brahma, whatever you want to call it. Words don't necessarily matter. Words are simply a human creation via a language to communicate. What we seek to do as meditators is communicate with life, with higher consciousness. Communicate is to commune, to connect, to join. And we all know that the meaning of the word yoga means to join. To join our individual separate, our individual seemingly separate self with the whole of the universe. This is what the word holistic is truly about. Because we're really not separate. We're really not individual. This is just a temporary illusion. I know that sounds crazy because this is our experience, is that there are separate objects. This is a glass. This glass is separate from me. But that water that I just drank was separate from me. but now it's a part of me. Oh my God. I'm absorbing the water, and it becomes part of my body. So water is a great analogy. You can separate water from itself, and that water can then evaporate into the air, and then that air becomes filled with more evaporated water, condensation occurs, and then it rains down back into the earth and fills up the pool of water again. Life is a cycle. Life is a cycle because life is all one. Life is all one. Life is energy. Life is light. And this is something that we gain experience of through our meditation. Because we've experienced life up to this point through thought filters. We've experienced life up to this point through judgment. We've experienced life up to this point through our conditioning. The mental conditioning, the emotional conditioning has caused us to see life as separate, to see life as limited, to see life as only the physical, perhaps, or the material dimension. But I can assure you that life is much more than that. But don't take my word for it. That's why we meditate. That's why I love meditation. There's really nothing about meditation that's dogmatic. There's nothing about meditation that you should just believe. Meditation is all about having your own experience. And obviously, trusting a guide, trusting a teacher who seems like they know what they're talking about, to teach you the meditation techniques, to give you some guidance as to how to get better in your meditation. But we should always use our own intuition as to whether that person is full of shit or not. And if you feel like they're full of shit, well, you should just check out and find a new person. Because meditation is what gives you the answers. You are what give you the answers. You should go by your own intuition, your own heart, your own center. You should know from your own point of view what's right and what's wrong. And this is something that we learn in meditation because there's a higher intelligence. There's a greater intelligence that we're recommuning with, communicating with, and eventually merging back into. It is who we are. But we are a modified form of that higher intelligence, aren't we? We've become the identity that we were given, the name, the history, the collection of memories, thoughts, knowledge, education, experiences. But all these things are just clouds in the mind. At our core, at our root, at our center, there is pure consciousness beyond the filters of mind, deep down into the layers. And this is what we seek to get to in our meditation practice. This is how we seek to live from this core. Truth, reality, the most real is there. It's here. The problem is that we have this conditioning. This conditioning has become a habit. These habits become our tendencies, and this becomes our routines, and we tend to then forget about this connection. We tend to forget that we are part of life, that we are multidimensional. And so meditation is a reminder. We remember. To remember is to reattach the phallus of Osiris. Some ancient Egyptian koan there for you. To reattach the phallus of Osiris. What does that truly mean? To remember. Remember who you are. Remember what you can do. Or not do, as it were, in meditation. So, getting to the meditation we offer here today, a guided meditation based on single-pointed mind concentration technique. What this is designed to do is overcome these limiting tendencies of the mind. These limiting tendencies of the mind are the veil. It is the limiters that are preventing us from remembering who we are. Remember, there's a realization that takes place. A realization is very similar to remembering something. Ah, oh yeah, I remember that. I remember that thing. I remember home. I remember truth. The realization of where we came from. The reality of life. I remember that all of this is just an illusion, that this is just temporary, that there is an eternal reality that is most beautiful, most loving, and the most real thing. So, what do you say we get to the meditation before I start to tear up and get all emotional on you guys? So, in the 5 steps to stillness, what we are doing is we are disciplining the mind through single-pointed concentration. When we can take our awareness, we take our active attention, which I call concentration, and focus it on a single point, you have your single-pointed mind concentration technique. So we do this within 5 steps. So I'll go over the steps briefly, and then we'll get to the meditation. Starting with step number 1. If you haven't already done so, you can print out one of these yantras in the group. They're available for free download in the announcements section at the top of the group. So you go up to the top of the group, announcement number 1 has a link to the yantra. You download it, you can print it out. And what we do is we gaze at the central dot. You'll see a dot right here in the middle. I show this every day just because if you're new to the group, this might be the first time you're seeing the video. And I want to make sure that you guys are taken care of. If you've seen this before, just bear with me for a moment and we'll get right to it. So what we do is we focus on that central dot, right in the middle of that central circle, right in the middle of that central inverted triangle. We focus on that with our eyes because our eyes are our dominant sense. We're very good at looking at things. So this makes it very easy to use a sense that we're very good at using and to have an object to look at that is concrete right there, a visual image. We want to place it about 2 to 3 feet away at eye height. Now if you're seated in a chair like me, I like to tape it on the wall. And if you're seated, I don't know why I always screw this up. If you're sitting on the ground in your meditation cushion or on the floor, what I recommend to do is get like a little table that brings the yantra up to your eye level. And then maybe stack some books up and then kind of just lay the yantra on it. Or if you get one of those frames that has one of those things where it kind of like a stand, so you can kind of have the yantra right there. Okay? Now, what we do is when thoughts come in and out of the mind, when our attention wanders, when we get distracted by physical sensations, when we get distracted by images, just ignore all that and just refocus on the center dot. The goal of the game is to hold your attention on that central dot for as long as you can. And by doing that, you are exercising your concentration. This is training. And what that will do is it will strengthen your ability to hold your focus on one point. So once we've warmed up by doing that, we move on to steps 2, 3, and 4, which will be focusing on 3 primary chakras. The chakras are energy centers in your energy body. We have 7 primary chakras, which go along from the root all the way up to the crown center. We'll be focusing on just 3 of these chakras. We'll be focusing on the navel center, just below the belly button, which is the center of power. And this picks up on all the energies of the chakras below it, pulls up the energy to that point. There's a certain latent energy that rests dormant in the root chakra called the Kundalini. And this latent Shakti energy can come up what's called the Sushumna. The Sushumna is an energetic central channel, also called an astral nerve tube, where the Kundalini rises up. Through the focus and concentration on the chakras, the Kundalini will rise up to the point to where you're focused. So we begin with the navel, and then we move up to the heart chakra, and then we finish off with the third eye. So With the ascending manner that we focus, we are bringing the Kundalini up to each point. Now, how much Kundalini is aroused is really based on the degree in which you can concentrate fully on that one point. So in the beginning, you might not necessarily get any or even a little bit of Kundalini arousal. But over time, little by little, as the energy body clears up, as the energy channels begin to flow again, the Kundalini will rise up to the point where you're focused on. And it can be a very subtle, slow, pleasurable type of feeling that you have. And then after step 4, we move into step 5. Step 5 is the formless non-doing of this technique. Prior to step 5, we've been holding our mind with our concentration, trying to hold our attention very still on feeling those chakras. Then step 5, we want to let go of everything. Let go of all concentration, let go of all focus, and simply surrender. When we surrender, we're letting go of our control. It is our control that we feel that is an obstacle to what is. And what is? Consciousness is already here. Problem is that we're control freaks. We want to constantly control everything, and that's not necessarily a bad thing in the beginning. This is why I call it concentration to consciousness, because I believe that in order to get clear, we first need to get still. And in order to get still, we need to still the mind on one point. Now, I understand this can be a challenging process, but it can be done, and with practice, just a little bit of practice, a few sessions, after a couple weeks, you'll get good at it. You know, I've coached total beginners in meditation to do this, and after a couple weeks they've gotten the hang of it, and by the end of a 4-week course they were very proficient at the technique and able to sit down and get very still with this technique. So with step 5, we're completely letting go, and what we want to feel is that joining. That we remember, yoga means to join, to reunite, union. Merging, union with the divine. Consciousness is divine because it transcends all dimensionality. It's not unique to any one particular dimension. It holds them all. Consciousness is the root of all creation. So consciousness is what makes us. It's the essence of all things. And, you know, it's just a word we use for something that's very difficult to describe. But if we ponder on what consciousness really means, then perhaps we'll get a clue as to what it is. But I think it's better to not necessarily ponder on it, but to actually just experience it. And the way to experience it is by getting out of the way. You've heard this before. So this technique is all about getting our thoughts, getting us out of the way. Because it's us, it's our identity, it's our thoughts, it's our projections, our memories, our histories that is an obstacle to freedom. It's an obstacle to enlightenment. It's an obstacle to the realization of consciousness. So, let's get to the technique, shall we? Concentration to consciousness. I hope you're having a beautiful day. It's a beautiful sunny day here. Temperatures are around 60 degrees. I'm in the northern Virginia area, which is about 45 minutes outside of Washington, D.C. So we're going to meditate to music. I've selected 5 songs to carry us through each one of the 5 steps, which is very helpful for guiding us through this meditation. Normally I like to meditate to silence. But for this guided meditation here for the 30 days to raise your frequency, I've chosen to meditate to music because it's a little bit more fun for you guys. But this music is also available for free download at the top of the group. So it's an album called Enlightenment by Zazen. Zazen is a group of progressive jazz / new age musicians, 3 guys. They created most of their albums in the mid to late 80s, early 90s, and Enlightenment was one of the particular albums created for meditation. And these were actually, this group of gentlemen were 3 students of my teacher, Rama, Dr. Frederick Lenz, and he helped produce the albums as well, and compose some of the music. So it's really good stuff. And it's not your typical New Age drone meditation music. This is some really good music. You can literally just listen to the music with a single pointed hearing and focus on only the music to the exclusion of all else, and that would be a great meditation. In the last meditation challenge, we did a 30-day meditation challenge for the new year. That was one of the meditations that I did. I would come on and do the single pointed mind meditation, the 5 steps to stillness in the morning, and then I came on in the evening and did a listening meditation to the music. And just by listening to the music deeply, what happens is that you forget yourself. The thing is guys, we're way too self-focused. Have you noticed? This is just our ego. We're focused on ourselves all the time. And this is why we're unhappy. We want to get out of ourselves, because beyond this limited self is beauty, perfection, enlightenment. Okay? So let's do it. Let's get there, shall we? Let me pull up the music on my Bluetooth, and I'll talk you through each step. Here we go. So, there we go. Okay. So whether you're sitting in a chair or on the floor, back straight, maintain a good posture. Take a big deep breath. Relax your body, but maintain a good straight spine, upright posture, very alert. We begin with step 1. Focus on the yantra in front of you. If you don't have a yantra, you can just look at the video with your eyes and gaze at the video screen. Or you can just listen to the music for the first song. This is a way to warm up your concentration. If you've done this before, you know what to do. Focus on the yantra. Look at that central dot. And within your gaze, hold that dot steadfast. Try to forget about everything else. Forget about yourself. Forget about the world. Forget about what's going on right now. The only thing that matters is this meditation, is this moment. This is renunciation. Momentary renunciation. By gazing directly at that central dot, we are holding our attention there. Begin. Now that we've warmed up our concentration, we move on to step 2. Close the eyes. Close the eyes gently, with not too much tension. Try to remain physically relaxed, but keep a good posture. Relax all energetic contraction, all emotional tension, release. Begin by taking the fingers and placing it about an inch below the navel. Press gently into that spot. What this does is gives us an indicator as to where to bring our attention to. Bring your attention, bring your awareness to the spot where the fingertip is pressing into below the navel. Breathe naturally throughout the entire meditation. The goal is to focus completely on the chakra. What we want to do is we want to feel the spot. If it helps, you can keep your finger there the whole time, but if you are somewhat familiar with this technique, once you've locked on with your attention, you can remove the finger and continue to hold your attention on the navel chakra. You want to feel that spot. Relax the body around that area. Breathe naturally, but hold your attention on feeling the chakra. Now we move our attention up to the center of the chest, to the heart chakra area. Place the fingertips in the center of the chest. Press lightly. Feel the energy surrounding that area. The heart chakra is the chakra of love. Feel loving energy, blissful, joyful energy around that heart chakra area. When you're ready, remove the finger and continue to feel that spot. When thoughts or images come in and out of the mind, just ignore them and return your attention to holding steadfast at the center of the chest, heart chakra area. What you want to do is feel the energy there. Feel deeply. Breathe naturally. Now move your attention up to the third eye chakra. Place the fingertip between the eyebrow and slightly above, Press gently into that area. Once you've locked on with your feelings, with your attention on the third eye, remove the finger and continue to feel that spot. Remember to feel, not think. Try to get out of the analytical thinking mind and into the feeling experience. Hold still. Breathe normally. Now we move into step 5, from concentration to consciousness. Consciousness is all-pervading, eternally present, eternally aware, the essence of all. Surrender into consciousness. Surrender into stillness. Let go of all control. Let go of all concentration into what is. And dissolve. Release. Let go. Slowly return back to your body. Take a deep breath. It's like coming back after a long vacation. Feeling of newness. Newness. That's a funny word. So, meditation. Well, that was a good one. I felt fairly still. What was your experience out there, my friends? Comment below. Let me know how you're doing, what you're experiencing, what you're going through, what your questions are. I'm here to help. I'm here to answer. What else would I be here for doing this? Meditation's probably the most important thing that I could share. I'm not getting any younger. I know I look great and young for my age, but I'm actually 72. Not quite. But I am at the point in life where I realize that I'm not going to live forever, and that that I should share with everyone that I know, that I could possibly share with, the gift of meditation. Oh, thank you, Julian. You had a wonderful meditation. Wonderful. I'm glad to hear that. A couple notes before we go. When we enter into that fifth step of non-doing, of completely letting go, it's sometimes normal for our tendencies of mind, the thoughts, the images, the holding our attention in a certain physical locale, whether it be the eyes or in the frontal lobe. Thank you, my friend. You have a great day. And this is completely normal for these tendencies to want to creep back in during that fifth step. This is totally normal, totally natural. It's not as if one meditation and you're going to be enlightened or perfectly overcome all of these habits of mind. But in time, with progress, changes will be made. Transformation will occur. But when these tendencies do creep back in, the fifth step is like a good litmus test for how it's going to be after the meditation, when you're not specifically focusing on something, when you're just kind of in the moment, letting go. That these thoughts creep back in, our habits of mind to think, for our attention to move around and wander. If you just remain still and observe from that silent witness consciousness position, these tendencies have a tendency to dissolve if we don't attach to them. I guess if there was a simple instruction to give you for step 5, it would be neither attracted nor repulsed. Be neither attracted nor repulsed to anything that comes up, whether it's thoughts, memories, attachments to tendencies of attention wandering, or whatever it might be. Don't become attached to it. Don't become averted to it. Just be neutral. It's like when you put your car in a neutral position and it just rolls on its own from the momentum that you picked up in the prior steps. Those prior steps of concentration should bring about a certain momentum. It should kind of format the way that your awareness works. If you're concentrating on a single point, you're always moving toward the center of it. When I'm feeling my chakras, I'm always moving toward the center of it. I'm trying to always remain centered in the feeling of that chakra. And this is training the mind. This is training your awareness to remain still. Yet, there's a certain momentum that takes place towards stillness. Just as there's a momentum that takes place toward movement, there's a movement toward stillness, a movement into disillusion. We settle down. Our mind settles down, our thoughts slow down. Perhaps our thoughts even become still for a moment. And then there's that recognition, there's that remembrance, there's that moment of realization that occurs. That everything is going to be okay. So, I will leave you with that, my friends. Thank you again for joining me for another good meditation. And we'll be back again tomorrow with day 21. So, have a great day, everybody. Thanks again. We'll see you then.